Ladies and gentlemen, the story you are about to see is true. The names have been changed to protect the innocent.
Practically every one of the top 40 records being played on every radio station in the United States is a communication to the children to take a trip, to cop out, to groove. The psychedelic jackets on the record albums have their own hidden symbols and messages, as well as all the lyrics of all the top rock songs. And they all sing the same refrain. It's fun.
This is a special request. We don't want you to smoke genetically modified ganja. We want you to smoke the real thing. We want you to smoke the natural herb. Some call it marijuana, some call it sensimilla, some call it lamb's bread, and some people call it
welcome everybody to the sixth installment. I'm having a hard time with this.
Sixth one.
Every time I'm like, I don't know if I'm going to remember to have any high. We're already up to 6.
That's a lot of numbers.
Once it gets double digits, I don't know if I'll be able to remember. So we'll try. But welcome to the Adam Dunn Show. Special. I don't even know why I say the word special. Sidekick Flargle over here. Sidekicking it.
Yo.
Trying to bring us news, trying to bring us some, otherworldly information, actually, usually. So this episode, we're going to be concentrating a lot on lighting. I've got a couple different companies that I'm going to be calling up that are all innovating new stuff, and that's one of the things we like to do on the show is bring you the latest technology, bring you the latest, what information out there on all the equipment that's available. And right now, I think the big push is to create better lighting because we've been working with these antiquated systems for so long to the point that they're actually, like archaic almost because we're just blasting these plants with, something, but it's not necessarily all what they need. A lot of times it's we're just wasting. Like, I think one of the things we're going to be talking about on the air a lot is about par reading, which, basically I want to kind of educate everybody too a little bit. Like, plants don't see the same as we see. We see things in a totally different world, just as animals see things different, just as everybody has their own vision. Some people see infrared, not people, but some animals can see infrared. Plants, on the other hand, they see things in PAR, and PAR is a usable light for the plant. So we'll be talking a lot about PAR readings. So if anybody out there is not so familiar with that, look it up, just get an idea of what we're talking about. So we're going to be talking to, like I said, 2 different companies, one in New York and one right here in Colorado, with completely different systems. So it'll be interesting. We'll have them, a little back and forth. Hopefully we can learn something because there's a lot to learn. And who else we got to have on the show? I'm going to be talking to my friend Carl Termini, actually out in New York also too. It's a big New York side. It'll be a big New York episode here. He's in Ithaca. He used to live in Amsterdam. I'd say he was my personal glassblower just because he was my guy that I would always call. He was my go-to guy. Now we have Joel Halen out here, so he's our go-to guy here in Colorado. But in Amsterdam, Carl was the man. I mean, he was the only guy really innovating and bringing that American flavor properly because there was a lot of people blowing glass out there, but nobody really seemed to have it as tight as he did. So he moved back to America. He's overworked. It's not that he's even here to get out and try to get more work because he's already backed up. He's like sometimes you get tattoo artists that are booked up a year ahead. He's like that right now. He's booked up solid. But he does have some pieces that are for sale, so he's going to help us out and show us what he's got. So we got Carl Termini. What else we got? Flargle, come on.
Yeah, Flargle.
Man. We had a really good intro that we were designing. It was going to be awesome. It was very visual, exciting.
Yeah, it was super exciting. But
yeah, and I didn't know that I didn't have it until on the way over here, so I was like kind of disappointed. So we brought backup plan instead. That's as close as we're going to get to some visuals today. So you can imagine this, I don't know, like 3D and spinning and exciting stuff. But next week we will probably have that together. We'll see. First we're going to talk about news because there's always lots of news, and if I don't get onto it right away, I'll just forget. And Flargle takes the entire show to find the news usually, so there's a reason why we have to start with this. In the news, let's see. Last night I had to go out to Boulder to they had a city council meeting. It was an emergency meeting. It's kind of strange. It was like all emergencies, but the emergencies were basically, oh, we have to open up these recreational shops, and we haven't really got a plan together, and we had a big flood. A lot of excuses were thrown around, reasons why they were behind, but they're actually going to make it. They're going to pull through. They'll be about 3 months behind everybody else if they start here on January 1st. Actually, 4 months. I don't know how you count it. 3 or 4. I think it would be April 1st, which is kind of funny and
Just in
ironic.
time for the trails to open.
Exactly. Yeah. Oh,
Nice.
just time for
Viking.
April Fools, I think, is really the thing. And they'd be like, ha ha ha.
Just kidding.
Not so quick. No, but there's a lot of there's a lot of regulation problems. The thing is that a lot of these shops are just not really designed to be separated into two entities the way that they're talking about, and they're trying to make it extra complicated. But I think I think they kind of ironed out a few things. There were some positives to the whole night. There was the worst one, and Mike, and the reason why I even went there. Unfortunately, I got there late, so I couldn't have a chance to talk. That's the classic, right? But the really unfortunate ruling, which I don't understand at all, is they were outlawing. They were basically making it not possible to have promotional shirts, and because that's going to give a bad message to the kids, that the kids are going to want to smoke, et cetera. To me,
I have
it's
a lot of beer shirts.
Sure. I mean, how many beer shirts people wear, or how many? It's just like, come on.
Or shirts that say like,
I think that's just
you were made because I got drunk.
Well, and I was really there just to kind of say, hey, my company, I'd love to sell to, bigger stores, REI, or these kind of shops, but they don't go for it. Every time I've gone to them with our clothing, they always kind of, they're a little bit like corporate. I have to talk to corporate headquarters, and that's when they're never going to make a sale. When they say corporate headquarters, you're not making that sale, by the way, anybody out there. But in general, they... my core people up there, like the farm was one of the shops that was selling our gear, and they were there representing, and it was pretty disappointing that actually didn't even get like knocked down. They were comparing it to Joe Camel and kids dying from cigarettes, which has absolutely nothing to do with responsible advertising, which would be and responsible promotion. So they had their problems though. They had the Dr. Reefer guy up there going crazy with his ads and stuff, and yeah, it was pretty funny. Actually, they had I think he had one ad that said something like "Cannabis gives you good grades" or something like that, and then that blew everybody up. So I thought that was a great T-shirt.
Oh, they want to know if we're talking about the ceramic metal halides.
Yes, we're talking one party is going to be the ceramic metal halides. That's the people here locally. The other one is going to be new to me, new to you. And I'm not even going to try to explain it because I have to let this guy tell us what's going on. It's interesting. It's like retro converting kind of T5s and T8s, sort of. But I'm not going to get into it because I really don't know yet. I have yet to experience the information myself. That's one of the great things about letting it all happen on the air. Everybody gets to sort of hear it at the same time. So, but the ceramic metal halides, I'm using them personally, and I have to say those things really do rock. They're like the wattage that you save and the amperage that you save too. I mean, is incredible, and the heat distribution is awesome, and it's really good for taking photos, and it's really good on your eyes, and you don't feel tired when you're coming out of the room. That's the thing. The more I go into my regular room with my Hortiluxes and stuff, my eyes get tired really fast. I don't even want to be there, and I go in the other room and everything's bright and popping. And so we're on week 5. It was literally yesterday was the exact first day of week 5, and it's not like beyond 1,000 watt, but it's definitely hanging in there. Like I would say for a 315, it's got to be at 80% right now. So the end. On top of that, there's not one yellow leaf in that room. That's what's really tripping me out. I'm like, usually, there's a little here or something, but these rooms are just looking like photo worthy. So we'll be talking a lot about ceramic metal halides later, so I don't want to kind of go into that too deep right now. But yes, how's that for an answer? Yes, ceramic metal halide. Any other questions on there, Flargle? Since we always miss, somehow we have missed questions on the show. I don't know how many times, and for some reason, like we blew the server out or something. One time it just everything failed. So, so I'm sure there's plenty of old school questions and new school questions out there for us. And you can always call in at 720-381-1420. That's 1420, of course. And you can always call in and we can chat that way. Let's see what else in the big news. Apparently the the smoking thing is still kind of lingering, or the smelling thing is kind of lingering.
Well, you're allowed to smoke in your front yard now.
Yeah,
You
which
can smoke anywhere in your own property.
yeah. Well, I mean, I don't recommend we all just sit out in our front yard and smoke because that's not really the best idea either. But apparently,
can if you want to.
Apparently, it's this whole like in businesses and things like that, they're going to have issues, and it's going to be like the reverse of well, you can't smoke inside and you can't smoke outside, and you can't. Then you only can smoke in your home, and then that gets kind of not making much sense, especially because hotels are not letting people smoke, and then all these tourists are here, and where do they smoke? And I mean, come on, we have to address these things like normal. Like there is a reality to this whole thing, and we can't always make it complicated. Which is what I noticed last night in Boulder. I'd say the agendas were changed. Everything was kind of. It wasn't even that big of a deal. Everything was really just simple stuff like hey, we need to get two businesses in the same building. How are we going to do that? And instead they. It's virtual separation and regular separation, and can they implement it, and sizes of the places and stuff like that. It seemed like a lot of it was just tiny, nitpicky kind of things, and as long as the core of the whole thing actually follows through, then I'm happy, But it looks like it's gonna be an interesting ride, that's for sure. And let's see, what else we got? Oh, we got a lot of football players getting busted lately.
Yeah, so Dwayne Bowie will be playing on Sunday. He got arrested for speeding and marijuana.
That was the half ounce, right?
I think so. But Sam Hurd's going to get life in prison for being a kingpin.
Man, that's big time stuff.
Yeah, he shouldn't have gone to lunch that day.
That was a bad lunch.
Bad lunch.
The other guy, though, was kind of interesting when I was watching the news this morning. It was like, it's interesting to see how the change in attitude is now, like amongst the TV reporters, things like that. When they talked about him getting arrested for the half ounce, they were like, "Yeah, I guess it's illegal over there." This is a Colorado announcer, of course. Yeah, I guess it's illegal there still. It was like just like the tide was turning. You could see the tide turning just on the fact that now people are very casual about it was cannabis, but it's. Of course, it's almost like now it starts to really sound like alcohol, where you're like, oh, he was caught in a dry town with a bottle of liquor, or he's caught on the reservation, or it's just like, wow, okay, they really go for that? They string you up for that stuff, or
it's pretty bad.
And you're like, really? That's kind of weird. It's only alcohol. And now it's the same with cannabis. It's like, oh, really? That's kind of interesting. He had a half ounce of weed. Oh, but it was in Kansas City. That's why. Makes sense, I guess. I mean, doesn't make sense, but it makes sense to the here and now. So yeah, a lot of bad boy football players out there, it seems like. But I mean,
weed.
Well, in most sports, like the idea of cannabis as a enhancing drug is kind of ridiculous.
Well, look at Michael Phelps. He got how many gold medals, and he smokes weed.
Sure, but it's like, I mean, it's great for relaxing, and it's not going to hurt your performance, I don't believe. But it definitely doesn't enhance it at the moment. It's not like, I don't think Michael Phelps blasted a bunch of bong rips right before he jumped in the water. I'm pretty sure he did smoke the night before, of course, because he's Michael Phelps.
Yeah.
But the idea that he was actually doing rips and then jumping in the water, that might be a little extreme. So there's really no enhancing qualities besides eating a lot of food, and that probably didn't help you if you're going to be jumping in the water or something. I mean, what is the enhancement there? Tell me. There's no enhancement.
Oxidation of your blood.
Yeah, maybe long distance running. I could see it being a good one. Like that could be because it kind of gets you in that zone where you're already there, and you didn't even have to run. It was like that much easier. Got into the zone before I even took off. Bam.
You're the anti-inflammatory.
Anti-inflammatory, yeah, and your knees and joints would stay. Yeah, it'd be awesome, man. Perfect.
Yeah, it'd be perfect. It's like doing steroids without
You need the helmet. You need the helmet with the bong so that you don't have
and the face mask.
And then that would actually, I'd be impressed. I would be impressed.
Like
I would be impressed.
Yeah.
So, okay, let's see. I got a few parties also to hype up. I'm going to hype them up a couple times because they're all friends of mine, and I want to make sure that they have good parties. And one of them's obvious because it's at my spot at the Hood Lab this Saturday. And we're starting to do Saturdays. See, we never did Saturdays. We're always Friday. We're a Friday crowd. We're Friday. So we started doing drum and bass on the third Saturday of the month. Saturday. Drum and bass. I was supposed to have a live. He was going to give us some sort of jingle. Man, I got a lot of failures around me today. People just not coming through with what they're supposed to. But anyway, we have well, headlining. We'll just go straight to the headlining. We have RAW, is AK 6 Block, and he used to play at Cervantes a lot, so a lot of people do know him from there. Old school, jungle, what we all love. It's going to be good. It's going to be a little older crowd, I think. It's not going to be such a candy raver crowd because they'll be like, that guy plays old school. But it is awesome old school. We have Citrus, Phonetic, Onkit, and Thrower also that night. And Onkit and Phonetic are my boys who, kind of put this whole thing together. I believe it's a whole crew now, but they're my boys.
Yeah.
So third Saturdays at the Hood Lab, and it's gonna drum and bass. And then the other party we have, which is going to be in Boulder, is a friend of mine who is putting together a trap night with Mr. Vandal, Hypnotic, and Short Fused at the Fox. And that is going to be on the 19th of December. So we'll be hyping it up this week, next week, and we'll all hopefully get down there too. It's $17 pre-sale, $22 at the door. It's a 16 and over show, so there will be some youngins around there. Woo,
young twerk.
I don't know, twerking, young 16-year-olds twerk. If you want to see 16-year-olds twerk, this could be your party right here. It's at the Fox, which is an awesome place.
It is.
And the backside of the thing is exactly the same, so I don't have to read it twice. But like I said, Mayhem at the Fox, he's headlining, and I mean he's done stuff with Waka Flocka, and he's done some pretty but he's done some pretty big labeled stuff. So should be a killer night. And like I said, I'll be hyping that up at the end of the show too. So if you missed out what I was talking about, or I was mumbling through my beard, which I tend to do sometimes, then I'll tell you later, and you might understand what I'm talking about. So Flargle.
Yes.
Give me something from North Korea. Did you hear any good North Korean news or South Korean news?
Hey, you can get a grocery bag full of weed for 50 cents. So Uruguay, I've got nothing on that.
50 cents for garbage
Grocery
bag.
bag.
Or grocery bag. Uh-oh.
In the black market of weed, which apparently everyone goes to.
That must be an interesting place. I can imagine the
Only
North
place
Korean
where-
black market of weed would be pretty interesting.
It's just like an underground grocery store, literally.
No, we need to send somebody. That's like a Vice. That should be a Vice thing. Did they ever do that? Did they ever go?
Oh, they have. Oh, they did a new one on.
Crocodile?
No, Arizona.
Oh, yeah? What's going on in Arizona?
It's like the cartel capital or something.
That's
It's
true.
their headquarters.
Nice. Well, I wouldn't want to do that. I think the guys who
They're
go
pulling
on
the
Vice,
bums from San Francisco out there.
the guys from Vice who go on these shows are crazy. I've seen some shows where I'm just like, oh my
Oh, no, that was in that Geo one.
Oh, they do some crazy stuff. I mean, they're going into that one chick is like the most insane, the little tiny one. She's just like ooh. She goes straight in, starts talking to like the most evil people in the world, and you're just like, wow, dude, you got some balls. She's Dutch too. So it kind of makes me laugh because she's got that real like Dutch style. They come straight in and ask the most obscene question, and you're like, wow, did you just ask that? I loved to watch. I used to go like backstage at shows in Amsterdam whenever these like Dutch reporters would come in and start interviewing people. It was like with Be Real or something, and they'd always ask these questions that were just like, really? I can't believe they asked that. And it was just like they have no couth, I guess, or they're very good reporters because they get the job done. Unlike my Flargle over here, who just comes up with lame facts like 50 cents for a garbage bag of weed. But that's cool. You said that last week already. That was old news. I want new, fresh. You should be on it like all day, 24/7.
You can't really get a whole lot of new weed news from North Korea. They don't really have like cannabis cups.
They don't have one yet?
Nah, we should take one there.
We should try to put that together.
And then at nighttime, everyone can sleep in like a labor camp.
That would be awesome. That's
And then
a real concentration camp, basically, is what you're trying to say.
and then make wax all
Nice.
night.
Make wax all night in North
No
Korean
sleep.
North Korean concentration camp.
They need to whip you.
Yes, that would be horrible.
Yeah.
So we what else did we do up? What on last week? We must have had some good stuff besides going. I mean, basically we came back from San Francisco and we're just like been railed. Right now, like I said, I've mentioned a few times, and anybody out there who either has a shop or has a friend who has a shop, we are taking orders from Hoodlam. Tomorrow is today's Wednesday. No, Friday is the last day that we're taking orders for summer gear. And a lot of you guys are always thinking about us as winter gear, but we make some killer summer gear. We got really nice summer jackets, stuff like that. So anybody out there who, like I said, has a shop, has a friend who has a shop, wants to get us into a shop, get the information to us at hoodlamcolorado@gmail.com in the next couple of days, and get us out to where you are, because we need to spread the word, spread the hemp, keep everybody warm, especially if you're in a cold place. Get ready for the winter gear, because we're going to start taking orders of that one soon. But like I said, our summer gear is pretty rocking right now. You're wearing some of our summer hoodie right there. Boom. Summer hoodie. Not that he's a great model or anything, but shorts, T-shirts, all the above, some girls' gear. Nice stuff. And if you do, you're going to be talking to my lovely wife, Cece. She'll be taking in all those orders. So today we're just trying to get as much done as we can, and you might as well announce it here. Maybe I'll get an actual customer out of the whole deal. That would pay for the day. So we have our guest coming up in about a half an hour. We got to call Carl too at some point, so I'll give Carl a call probably a little earlier, just to get him over with, because he's a busy boy and I'm cutting into his day, so he'll be like, come on. He's a bit of. I'm telling you, Carl. I know you're listening. No whining on my show, right? I want this stuff. Boom. I know you're overworked. Nobody wants to hear anybody whining about having too much work, right? That's a tough one. That's like when people have come to me and they go, "Oh, my buds are so big and heavy and they're falling over." Like, what are you telling me this for? Do I want to hear that? Like, no, that is not a problem. There's certain problems that are not problems. That is like just lazy if you can't keep your buds strung up. It's like, problems. These are modern new world problems right here. Bud's too heavy. Got to go out and figure something out.
Man, it sucks when it happens. It starts drooping.
What a bummer. Not really, though.
You just got to tie it up.
Not really.
No, my buds are too big.
Oh,
yeah, I've heard this thousands of times where people. I believe only about a quarter of them usually, because usually it's like, yeah, right. That's your problem. Okay, then they go home and they got no big bud. There's a lot of talk in the game, and usually when that's their problem, they're coming. It's like when I go to a place, I usually try to come up with the weirdest problem possible to complicate the matters as much as I can with anybody that I'm dealing with. So I'm sure it happens to me on a reverse. Like if I go to an electronics shop, I want the most obscure thing that they possibly heard of, but mostly likely haven't. And then they feel stupid. And then you're like, yeah, I think that's just human nature, right? So whenever somebody meets me and they think, oh, you're a grower, then they go, I've got this problem, you see. My buds are too big. So I think that's probably the case. Let's see. I forgot my iPad again. couldn't. Where's my iPad at?
Oh, you lost it?
No, I didn't lose it. It's in the shop somewhere. Yeah. So anyway, I don't got my list, which is not making it very easy for me here. I have to use my head.
Use your head. Where's your head at?
I have to drink some coffee too. That'll help spark, and you'll come up with something brilliant while I'm drinking.
Yeah, maybe.
I was watching David Letterman last night. It was quite funny. I was like reminiscing about how I used to listen. I used to watch him when I was 10 years old, I think it was. Probably when he first started, about 10 or so, and maybe a little older, 11 or so. And it was kind of interesting to see. I was like, oh, well, now I get to go on TV, on my little show. Wait, you're interrupting me now? Jesus.
Yeah, I forgot.
So I have to tell my great story.
All right.
See, now you blew it.
Forgot.
And you forgot. See? You almost ruined.
That's right. There's a first weed store.
Okay, first weed store. We'll get back to that. Anyway, I was just going on about how watching David Letterman kind of reminded me of the reality that now I get a chance to sit in front of a mic and have a sidekick. That was the best part. See, that's where I was going with this. Sidekick. So you are my Paul Schaefer, basically, is what it comes down to. And you got the baldness, and you know how to kind of like come up with really goofy stuff. So you are now my Paul. He doesn't laugh like that, though.
Does it?
No. You don't do a very good Paul Schaefer, but you are my Paul Schaefer.
All right.
From now on. How do you like that?
I guess I have to find out who Paul Schaefer is.
Oh, my God. What a sidekick. What a sidekick.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was. But actually, one of the things that was interesting, too, was they had Michael J. Fox on there, and it was like a weird thing to watch, but at the same time, he was really kind of cool to watch because he pulled through the whole thing. But you can really see, how his condition with Parkinson's has really gotten kind of like, he's under control, but it's all the side effects of the drugs that he takes. And it was kind of curious because it was like we were both, me and James were watching it and we were thinking, is this guy not smoking weed or what? Because that's got to help somewhere in there because it seems so like it's like all the side effects were like, they gave you that wavy thing. And it just seems like that the tremoring and all that kind of stuff totally could be solved with some CBD or some sort of I mean, I'm not saying they should be smoking weed all day. I think not at all. I think he should be, because he's already got $365 million, donated to the cause via his actions, because every single dinner that he does, he makes about $5 million. So I'm thinking, man, if we get somebody like that who actually put some of that money towards research, I'm pretty sure that could be a code that could be cracked, just because it has so much to do with those types of conditions. I mean, there's a real nerve situation, and it's also it seems like it's partially psychological, but not really. I mean, of course it becomes physical, but there's a lot of mental pressure there because of the condition, and it seems like, I don't know, it just seems to me like that would be the focus for a lot of people, especially hearing about all these, for autism and for seizures and for these things that are all interrelated, that was, I mean, I thought that was pretty cool, but it was slightly painful to watch too, because you knew this guy when you were a kid watching the show, and he was, calm, cool, collective, and now he had this, major condition that you could really see was, taking over his whole life, obviously. But like I said, he had good spirits, and it was a cool show to watch. Just my little side note. And Flargle doesn't even know who I'm talking about.
No, I just thought of that Family Guy skit with him. You remember that?
No, but I'm sure I can imagine.
He comes in carrying a chair of red wine.
Oh, and he gets all spilled it everywhere.
It spills all over his shirt, and he yells at him.
Yeah, no, I mean, pretty much, like I said, Family Guy, Simpsons, all those things, they can pretty much nail it. South Park, if you lived here in Colorado, you feel like half the time you're driving around and you're like, wait a minute, I thought that was only in the show, So it's kind of funny. And my mom's from Springfield, so that's even funnier. So we live in South Park almost,
Yeah.
And there you go, covering all bases.
All bases covered.
And I grew up in Rhode Island, so Family Guy. Bam! I got it all covered. Oh,
this is all based off of you.
I used to actually go quahogging. I quahogged.
That's a real word?
Yes.
What is it?
That's going and raking. My uncle would do the raking because I was young, so he would get like a 40, 50 foot long rake. You can attach them to each other. There's a big rake on the end. You drop it down to the water. You get on your boat, and you basically float sideways, raking the bottom like this, and you're getting up all. And then you flip it over, pull it up into the boat, shake it out, full of quahogs if you're lucky.
What's quahogs?
Freaking clams! Jesus Christ, guys, get it together. Quahog. You thought that was just a word? I mean, that's why everything's a clam. Mel's, the clam this.
Oh.
Wow, guys.
Now it all makes sense.
Man. I'm glad I could educate you guys on Family Guy. There you go. That's the thing about that show, though. When it first came out, I was like, this is from Rhode Island? No one's going to get this. No one's going to understand. All the humor is so, insider jokes, half of them, It's like, it's our mayor, and it's all this, it was like, all these jokes were like
so
a lot.
Batman's not really the mayor of Quahog?
Quahog. No, he's not. Damn! All your worldly dreams are shattered there, I guess, in one blow.
Done.
But anyway, yeah, it was an experience as a kid to go quahogging. So it's kind of funny to watch a show when their main focus is on that, and then people like Flargle don't even know what the word means. But that's what we do around here. We educate.
Yeah,
a little education, so it's good.
I mean, you don't really need too many facts about Rhode Island. It's not very big.
Yes, that's a great analogy. It's not very big. Very few. Not a lot of facts. You get facts per square mile.
I mean, that's where
I don't think that's true, because there ain't a lot of great facts about some of these big ass states that are out here. I'm not going to name because I don't want to lose listeners based on the states that they live in. But one of them begins with an O, and there's not much going on there.
A lot of them begin with O.
Well, there's one that's really boring.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep. Yep, that's the one. That ain't such a great place. I don't know if I have any listeners there. They probably want to move anyway, so I wouldn't really worry about it too much. But yeah, there's how many people have been moving to Colorado lately? It's crazy, right? I mean, this is like literally hundreds of families of autistic children are moving here, which
there's a big Utah is going to be. I was reading about that. There's like 100,000 cases of epilepsy in Utah alone.
Right. And like we said last week, obviously in a place like Utah where there's tons of kids because there's tons of wives and tons of everything. Just keep running. I got 8 wives and 42 kids. I think one of them probably has autism, but at this point, it used to be back in the day, it was like 1 out of a couple thousand. And now it's literally like 1 in 10 and 1 in 6. So, I don't know. The numbers get ridiculous. Like, I'm just like, wow, there's something weird going on here. And it's either A, we're identifying this thing or creating this thing by making it into something, and or there's food related probably issues, and there's definitely some conditions out there that are not helping the situation, let's put it that way.
There's a lot of factories around Salt Lake City.
Yeah, I mean there's and I think also the fact that we're talking about secular people that decide to be on their own, and then there's a lot of I don't know want to say inbreeding, but there's definitely some weirdness going on there, and it only takes one. That's how things work. It just kind of one makes the rest worse. I probably lost everybody in Utah now. They're all like, "What? This guy? He's out." Utah, Oklahoma. Let's see how many states we can lose in a day.
We lost Rhode Island. We don't have family.
No, come on. I got family in Rhode Island. Rhode Island's always going to be there. We love Rhode Island. No problem.
Shallow gene pools for sure.
Oh, you've heard it from the master. You can't see. Luckily, he can talk whatever he wants. Nobody ever sees him.
Never. That's what somebody said on the chat.
Oh, somebody said in the chat. Oh,
shallow gene
good call. I like that. Yeah, limited gene pool, shallow gene pool. Shallow makes them sound even worse, but no, limited gene pool. That's the problem with islands, and that's the problem with a lot of places in the world because of where they're located and stuff. But when it's your choice, and you're just kind of like
West Virginia.
Hey, come on now, how many states can I lose? Don't.
Kidding.
I don't even know anything about
right West Virginia.
Yes, this is guys.
I'm allowed to make those jokes. My teacher was one of those people.
What? Really? What was his name?
I forgot. He was my science teacher.
And you did
physics.
You made those kind of jokes?
Yeah, all the time. He hated me.
Oh, you made him about him. Wow, that's right. I thought you guys were like just talking about the general population and thinking
But apparently in Kentucky, there's blue people that are really blue because they're so inbred.
Really?
Yeah, and like parts of Georgia, parts of South Carolina, they're like in the mountains, remote. Like,
hey, we have an expert down here. He's never seen a blue person. I have heard about blue people, but that's because they drank too much Colodial Silver. You heard about that guy? You ever heard about that guy? You should look him up. He's the Blue Man, the real Blue Man, not the Blue Man Crew, but he's the Blue Man, and he looks like Papa Smurf. Really, he's got white beard, blue face. And he was drinking Colodial Silver because, it is actually quite good for you in small doses. And then, of course, like some people think that they should bake a cake at twice the temperature half the time. He kind of just did the same thing. Like, well, if it says, then I'll do that. And he drank an amazing amount, and then his skin turned blue, and it was not going away. So it's kind of like one of those crazy. You can look it up. Everybody, look it up if you want. Don't believe me. Blue. But the best part is that he literally looked like Papa Smurf. It was like, come on now. You could do that without having the Papa Smurf thing going down. And he was all sad looking, and it was like, oh, I didn't want this to happen. And it's like, when you see your skin starting to turn blue, you might want to slow down on that Colodial Silver. I don't know if it went overnight. I think it was very accumulative. And knowing that Colodial Silver can reverse sex on plants, I don't think I'd be drinking like gallons of that stuff. I think it would be like, hey, this stuff reverses sex on plants. Let's drink a gallon of it. So, yeah. If you're into that.
Don't do it.
Yeah.
Don't do it.
What's up with the what?
What's the menu? The Tanga? Or
what's on the menu?
Saggy?
Saggy.
What's on the menu?
Sage.
On the menu today, what did you have on the menu today? You had some
kosher kush.
Some kosher kush.
Kosher kush comes with hot dogs.
There you go.
Hot dogs.
There you go. We're smoking. We're smoking anything. It seems like around here, I guess.
Yeah, it's kosher.
I got some tange, I think, on me still. Some little smidge. We decided to do all kinds. Last week was all flowers, and we got in total trouble here because the studio really reeked. So we're trying to mellow it out this week. Only doing dabs, and it's working. It's all right. Just like one of those. It's more like, of course, nice to just. But then, yeah, studio got a little bit stinky. Oh well,
Just a little.
little bit.
Yeah.
We're trying to make up for it. So what else you got for me? Anything? Nothing? There was a few other things out there.
Legal. Oh yeah, the Grove. You can go shop there in West Denver.
What's that?
January 1st. The dispensary. They got the first approval.
Oh, that's right. See, you interrupted my last conversation,
Yeah.
and now you remember. That's pretty good.
Yeah.
That is almost a professional sidekick.
Almost.
You're getting.
I forgot
there.
everything else, so it's coming back.
Okay, so we have the first shop, and what is it called?
The Grove.
The Grove. Some free advertising for the Grove. So anybody from the Grove listening, free to you today.
Good job.
Next week, I want money. That's how it's gonna work. I'll be down there. I'll be there to collect my cash. But lucky first people for now they can. That is one of the things in this industry. Everybody wants to be first on everything. So of course they've got the tagline forever: Denver's first recreational. There you go. Getting paid for that too. Denver's first
Give
recreational.
them a whole slogan and everything.
Yeah.
Now they're good to last for.
They're not up until the first of the year, though, right?
Yeah, they just got the first license, so it's starting. I mean, it's interesting, right? Isn't this like the craziest time period in probably our cannabis history? I mean, not in all history. I mean, this is nothing compared to a few years out there. But in a cannabis history, this has got to be the most monumental. Also, there you go. See, I was remembering. I need to call Jason Love up. I was going to give him a call at some point today and say what up and find out what's going down in the hemp world, because it's going crazy there too. It's like they just harvested the seed crop that we went to help them harvest, which was down in Springfield about a month ago, has been separated. I think they had like 250 pounds or a bit more. Not sure on the numbers exactly, but that was kind of what I was told. But I got to see some clean seeds and some photos yesterday, and it was a pretty nice thing to see, because being a breeder and making seeds is really rewarding, because it's not just about like, I'm going to smoke this. It's like there is ammunition for the world, you know what I mean? Like, bam, there I've got tens of thousands, or and in this case, you got millions of seeds. So just to know that there's going to be those put back in the ground.
Someone wants to know if sage makes good shatter or wax.
I haven't made too much. We haven't really made a lot of shatter from it, but it makes some of the bombest water hash, though. It comes out like a silver gray color. It's really interesting. It's definitely melty. It's got like an intense flavor, though. It's like it's almost like a strange, like ozonated fish, if you want to go with the weirdest combination. But it's got like this heavy, but yet it disappears real quick. You know what I mean? It's like, oh, that's strange. You know what I mean? And then it's got a really heavy, nice aftertaste. So it's kind of like a weird intake. I don't know. But that's for water hash, it was bomb all the time. Shatter, it's weird. Like, we haven't really produced a lot of shatter with it. It's like we've kind of been
bubbling it.
Sticking to what we really like with it, because it's got such good flavors. And the thing is you lose a lot of terps in making shatters, or anything you break it down further, you're always losing something along the way. And that's why, like, water hash, even compared to dry sieve has more terps. It has usually more contaminants too. That's why water looks more professional. It's got better action, but it has less flavor. So I try to kind of go with what terps work, in which direction. But we'll be when I do some shatter, we'll bring it out here, and we'll definitely do some demos and tell everybody, so you can see what it looks like yourself. Yeah. My sidekick says, yeah, so we need to call Jason Love. Let me look up his number real quick, and we can just call him randomly. Where is my phone? There it is. Yeah, let's see if we can find his number.
The hemp people got for the industrials, $1 an acre.
Uh-huh.
And then,
oh, really? That's good news.
A couple $100 for something. I forgot what that was.
Jeez. All right.
But you should be able to produce more than $1 off an acre.
I would hope so. An acre for $1, that's awesome. That's like that's like a no-brainer, I guess, as far as even just to get the land paid for. All right, let's see.
Oh, there's another question.
What's that? Tell me.
What's Big Sur Holy Weed pheno like?
Big Sur Holy. The original Big Sur Holy is the sativa side of the sage, so it's got the more hazy characteristics, and you're gonna get real spiky. When it's growing, the hairs are really like they're not. Sometimes you get really long, fluffy hairs, and this thing's not at all like that. It's real short and stout, but it's still a sativa. You know what I mean? And normally sativas have these super long hairs, and they're just like it's all about this big bushy. This one's not. It's got more density to it. So awesome plant. Very little color change in it too. Like it'll stay white really late, you know. And a lot of other stuff, it's like that goes red early, and then those kind of plants never yield. This one just stays going. That's kind of one of the reasons that we love it so much, because it grows like an indica, and it tastes like a sativa, and it's not all from the indica side of the plant. A lot of it's from the sativa side, because it's a pretty robust. It was a Zacatus purple, which is a Mexican plant crossed with that was used in that cross to make Big Sur Holy. And the Zacatus is it's like on the peninsula, and it's a totally different looking plant as far as like colors, kind of purple. It goes purple, not full purple, but like magenta, and then it has like these really short hairs that makes it look real distinctive. So that's sort of where the history of the plant goes from. Okay, so Jason Love, can you call? Hold on, let me see. Yeah. Man, I keep losing his number. Here we go. It's the 7201. Give him a call.
720. Does a pheno make you cough your ass off?
No, the bottom one, the blue one. The thing about sage in general is it has this real kind of love-hate flavor thing, because it's got that hazy characteristic. And so some phenos, especially because the more sativa a plant is, then the harder it is to nail the flavor sometimes, because of the timing. It's like the difference between 70 days and 85 days is a long time. That's 2 weeks plus, so that's kind of like you can not nail it pretty easily. You have a 2-week window almost. So it is. So I think a lot of it's growing it properly. So if it makes you cough a lot, it might be a little premature. You know what I mean? It could be the cure. I mean, it's very expansive, and it definitely has. The thing about sage in general, though, what I always loved is, like, if I was at a festival and there was 50,000 people at the festival, one guy would always, they'd smell, oh, what's he smoking? And they come up, ask me for a hit or whatever. Obviously they maybe give him a hit, and then an hour later, this person would come back and tell me, like, man, mind blown, basically, because it just has a real medicinal quality, and that's important. And that's kind of what you'll notice with it. So if it doesn't get you high, I would say dump that pheno, because if it's just making you cough. But if it's getting you off and you're coughing, then it might be something to it, and you need to hold on to it and just grow it a little better. I mean, there's always a little room for improvement. That's how it goes,
Another
Question.
Yes, you're the only one who sneezes when you smoke good sage.
I sneeze too.
Oh, no, you're not the only one.
Oh, no, sneezing is a different story. That's a total, coughing is one thing, but sneezing, it's got that real nasally thing, and it's also, to me, sneezing, and it's funny, too, because people notice it. If you know how a lot of times I just go into these sneezing fits, and while it's happening, it's good, because I know that's why I'm sneezing, because it was good weed, it made me sneeze, but I get this nervous tick where I'm like, am I allergic to weed now? Because this is happening, I'm fucked up. So I can't handle it in my mind a little bit, because I don't like the sneezing part, because it's weird. But I get it even with vaporizers. I get it with, if I get a good hit with the right thing, it's like it just automatically triggers that sneeze thing. And I think it's partially because it gets me really high because of the compression, because I don't usually like to blast the room with my sneezes either. I like to, I'm one of those guys who keeps it all in, and then it's like I'm doing the giantest hit ever. And it just kind of at the end of that, I'm like, whew, I got a buzz off of extra buzz off the head rush of lack of oxygen. I would say probably probably just lack of oxygen. Self-torturing. All right, let's give Jason a call and see if he's up and around.
Ring, 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 ring.
I love when it's impromptu because who knows what he's doing. It's like, oh yeah, I was supposed to call him. Yeah.
It's a weird number too.
Why is there too many numbers?
I like the number. It's a Skype number, so
The phone subscriber you have called is not available.
Ah, you see, that's what happens when you don't call ahead. All right, I'm going to send him a message, and hopefully we'll talk to him during the show. And basically, with him, I wanted to just check in, see what was going down in the world of hemp right now, and he's the man to talk to because he's always there, fighting the fight and doing, making things happen. Yeah, so he's been. I mean, every time we talk, it's like it's pretty much mind blowing how much stuff is going on. There's factories about to be built. There's fields about to be, sown. There's major things going down, and it's just, it's mind-boggling how much infrastructure is being put into this state right now. And I mean, how much construction's going on. If I drive around, we just looked at the end of my street on Letterman, and it was like every single corner I looked on, there was construction going on. It was like, wow, that's a lot of money right now. So it's not. I mean, and it's not all about cannabis. I'm not trying to say that that's the reason, but there's definitely a driving force behind being able to afford to be able to do all this stuff because, none of this stuff's cheap. It's like if you ever rebuilt a place, you'll know that it costs you a fortune. So the idea that they're building on every single corner of my street is pretty crazy. What you got?
Oldest cut of sage you know of?
28 years, I guess, about. I mean, the cut I have right now is the cut that I've got my S6, for instance. I have my S1 and my S6, and the S6 is the original plant that my friend actually selected. Me and my friend Mo, who is the one who helped us develop sage, and it was based on the fact that we were calling that one the sagey one. It was like, hey, that's the sagey one. It was before it was even sage. And that S6 cut was 1990. 3, I guess, 92, so whatever that is. That's my oldest. So it's 21 years, 22 years? I don't know. See, I'm not very good at math. 22 years or something like that? Something like that. Old. Pretty old. And that is the original kept going and going. And then I have the original mom too, S1, 22. Which we call her. And that's what you make it from. And that plant is like having a land race where you're just like, this thing sucks when you smoke it on its own. It just doesn't have it's so old right now. That plant I guess that plant would even be older because that one's the mother of that one. So it's like about 2 years older than that. And that one kind of like, I know what it does and it's awesome, but it doesn't really have the sting on itself. The S6 though, on the other hand, I've had that for the same amount of time, like 2 years earlier or something or later. And that thing still, to this day, hits it every time. You know what I mean? It's like, people have a hard time growing it sometimes because they don't want to let it go. They try to harvest it at 8 weeks or something. And you're like, because it actually has like a 3-way pump, it goes up and then you're like, oh, and then it does it. Then it kind of shrinks and then it goes again. And then it kind of shrinks and then it goes again. And it goes third. So you have to kind of wait till the third round comes in, and that's around 75 to 80 days. So around the 45th to 50th day, you'll think it's, wow, that looks like to an average, because it does grow like pretty massive. So, but then those last 2 pumps are like very worth it. If you don't do that, you're
Get all
wasting.
3 pumps in.
Get them all in.
Get them all in.
So, okay, so Jason failed. Let's see about Carl. We'll give Carl a call. I'll give him a text first, though, because he's kind of nervous if I just start calling him out of the blue. Probably my numbers organized next time. Carl.
You want to take a break?
Yeah, sure.
Do a break.
Do a 3-minute break, and we'll get back and we'll call Cal.
Cal.
Hey, you don't know him. Can't say that.
All right.
I can say that.
come again. Your love is all I want, baby. Minimum one. So love me like the flow. Minimum two. Your love is all I want, baby. Minimum one. Your love is all I need. Bad boy, come again.
So, welcome back to the Adam Dunn Show. So Carl was busy. He was driving around, delivering packages. So we're going to call him back after. But what we're going to do is we're going to start our lighting segment of the show because, this is something that's super informative. Hopefully it gets a few people maybe to decide what side of the fence they want to be on, or if they maybe want to get involved on some of this new lighting, and or just stick to the old. Who knows? You never know. This could all come in some way or another. So we're going to talk to a couple guests. One of them is the first guest we're going to talk to is a guy named Jeff Sagi, and he's from a company called Everyday Green, and we're going to get all the details in a minute when we talk to him. But here, and are we calling? Oh, good, we're calling already. So bam, no messing around.
Everyday Green.
Hi, this is Adam from the Adam Dunn Show. I wanted to talk to Jeff Sagi, please.
Yes, hold on.
Thank you very much.
Thank you for waiting.
We love
Please
operators.
Continue to hold for the next available representative.
Oh, cool. We get the whole waiting music and everything.
Oh, yeah. There's no messing around here.
Does WB Studios still do the whole WB every time you call?
I don't. How the hell do I know?
You should call them.
Oh, good.
Good afternoon, this is Jeff.
Hey, Jeff. How you doing? This is Adam from the Adam Dunn Show.
Adam, how are you?
I'm doing good. How are you guys doing?
Great, thank you.
And so tell us where you're located, because I didn't have all the details, and I didn't want to start blurting out stuff. All I know is where our other friend lives at.
Okay. Corporate headquarters is here in Cleveland, Ohio.
Cleveland, Ohio. Awesome. And you guys have sort of offices everywhere, or?
Well, the lamps that we actually are producing are made in 2 different places, in Hungary and in Connecticut. And then they come to our corporate headquarters here, where it's the main distribution point.
Great. And so for our viewers and listeners, because there's a lot of interest in lighting, obviously, and it's one of those major components of growing, which hasn't really changed too much in the last 20 years. It's kind of HID lighting has pretty much dominated the scene. Sodium. Sodium being maybe better for flowering, and then metal halide being better for growing. And so people having 2 different bulbs, and then now there's a lot of full spectrum bulbs, and there's a lot of everybody's kind of nailing different things. What is the angle that you're trying to achieve here on your lighting?
Well, my business partner and I have been in business for roughly 45 years combined, and we've worked on many different angles in the UV lighting spectrums, whether it be aquarium, horticulture, tanning. Recently, about 2 years ago, I got really interested in developing a better grow system. Like you said, on HIDs, if you're using high-pressure sodium, you're getting more of the red spectrums. This is good for your flowering or your budding stages. Then you're also using the metal halides. That is good for your vegetation. I took the sun and dissected it into 6 parts. So we have developed a T5 high-output lamp with a very high power rating, which is the photosynthetic available radiation that uses the 420 towards the flowering, 460, a little more blue spectrum, a little more flowering better, a natural, what they call a daylight lamp. This is a 6500K, which we're taking 2 blue molecules, a red and a green, to give more of a pure white, kind of a bluish-white lamp.
Mm-hmm.
Then we took it to the next level, because I didn't think it could be done, but mad scientists as we are, we came up with a 633 nanometer spectrum, and then developed a 660 to 680 nanometer spectrum.
Okay, and that is what colors are they into? What is that?
That basically starts from the 420s is more down toward your violet, bluish violet colors.
Mm-hmm.
The 460 is a blue color. The 865 or 965 that we've come up with is a visible spectrum light. And then we went to the 633, which is a bright red, and then the 660, 670, which is your far red.
And what is the par? How is the par reading like compared to, for instance, let's say a normal T5 or a normal T8? Is there like a?
It's about 10 to 15% higher than a normal T5 high output lamp you can buy off the shelf at pretty much any grow store.
Right.
The reason we went that direction was because plants need a lot of intense light, not as much intense heat, but intense light. We've realized that if you are starting, depending on what type you're cultivating, say you're growing broccoli, you really don't need any red spectrum. You need a lot of blues and whites. But in other plants, you need a lot more red spectrum, especially for the budding and the flowering stages. We're also taking it one step further right now, and this lamp will actually be out. We're taking orders for them now, but will be available right about the first year. It's a T5 lamp that's called the Heliovite. Now, this lamp is actually a T5 light that mimics pure sunlight, but also adds the addition of UVB and UVA coming off the lamp.
That's interesting because that's one of the things that you don't get enough of on indoor plants normally, and that's.
No, the typical lamp that you're buying off the market right now is using certain glasses, and what I mean by glasses is the way the lamp is comprised. It actually filters out naturally UVA and UVB. It's much like wearing a pair of dollar sunglasses.
Sure.
And
yeah.
You get a little sticker that says, "Hey, this is 100% UV protection."
Yeah, but it's but it actually hurts your eyes in the long run because it takes it opens them up and gets the other parts from what I gather. So it's like it's not always the best idea.
The UVA will kill the retinas.
Yeah, so you have to be careful with those.
So we actually took a lamp and cleared the glass for the most allowable transmission of UVA and UVB. And so this lamp is actually going to emit 5% UVB, hence that's going to actually add to the vitamin D, which will actually up some of the THC content to the lamp or to the bulb.
Yeah, and also can produce THC-VA, which is what you get from outdoor cannabis that you don't really get from indoor, usually because of the fact that there's not enough of that spectrum in the bulb. So that could be huge for the resin production, I would think.
Sure, exactly what we're trying to go for.
And so you guys have been doing test runs for a while, or how's it been going with that?
We've been developing the lamps over the last year and a half, and we just are now ready to bring it to market. So about 3 months ago, we started taking the orders for the product, and it's been doing extremely well so far.
And so what was the brand name again?
Everyday Green.
Everyday Green. And do you have distributors out here in Colorado, for instance?
Right now, we do not.
Ooh.
So I'm open for suggestions there.
For sure.
We've been actually selling these lamps pretty much direct because before we put them out to the mass market, we wanted to make sure we did our due diligence to make sure that the lamps that we actually created worked well.
Well, yeah,
too often, too many people put out claims and they can't back their claims. We wanted to make sure that we had the testimonials and the claims to back us. For sure.
Yeah. And how are you guys developing any of your own hoods or any of your own hardware for the bulbs? Or are you just doing the bulbs and they're like retrofit into other people's existing units?
Both. We actually are in the process of making a hood right now, but the lamps that are made come in 2 foot, 3 foot, and 4 foot T5 high output versions.
Sure.
So they can retrofit into pretty much anyone's hood out there.
Nice. And how about your costs? Are you getting competitive costs, or is it still cost restricted at this point?
Retail costs on all of our lamps are ranging anywhere between $16.95 and $27.95.
Okay, and so like you said, it was Hungarian lighting and American parts. American. If we say American, we don't pronounce the A around here. We just say America. It's got to be made in America. Well, except for the Hungarian parts, but whatever. We won't worry about that. Actually, I had a lot of. You never heard of? So have you heard of the company named Gavita ever?
The name sounds familiar. Yes.
Okay, originally they were a Russian company, and their offices were in Amsterdam, and it was pretty interesting to see. They made these like football shaped kind of bulbs, and they were the top of it has the reflector built into the bulb, so they sprayed the top basically. And so it was kind of the first one that they just had like the classic where they had made like a spinnable fitting so that it could, because of the problem of having it where you turned it and all of a sudden it's not lining up.
Right.
They made it so you could turn the whole bulb. And
we actually came out with a lamp years ago in a different division that we were one of the first ones in the division to put a 180-degree silver oxide reflector into a fluorescent tube.
Okay. And then, but I guess that it always lines up because it just clicks in. So it's easy.
Right.
Yeah, that was the problem. So these guys would made these things and then they realized, well, they're going to have to design a whole new fitting because of that, which they did. But then that was like the weak link on the whole thing. So it was unfortunate. But now they've actually come out, completely redone the company. And now they're developing some pretty interesting stuff. They're the second people that we're going to bring on. We're going to bring a friend of mine on who's here in Colorado. And he's not doing what you're doing and developing from ground up as much, except for he has designed his own mogul fitting, which actually fits. So he kind of like stepped the Phillips game up because Phillips made these ceramic metal halides. I'm sure you've heard about them.
Sure.
And they are pretty awesome lighting too. So it's like right now I see, that's why I wanted to have you on board today, because I see there's a big transition in the lighting world where, it's I think because this is the other reason why I wanted to bring my friend on board is he actually works for a company here that does retrofits supermarkets and giant shopping malls and big buildings and industrial places. So it's his job to go in and upgrade places and turn them, basically come in and if you take the inefficient old school things out and put in new ones. And so he's always got his finger on the pulse of what's going on. And he just saw, I think, with his company, it was more based on them seeing that they had this great lighting, but they didn't really have a way to do it easy. So he's made it so you can retrofit them into any hood, which is pretty awesome. So, like I said, maybe there's a little crossover. We can get some, you never know. And there's always room. I think, and that's the other thing too, is people really should understand that mixing up light is a good thing, because a lot of times certain bulbs only do certain things, and other bulbs outperform in other ways. And then so like right now I've got friends who are doing the ceramic metal halides mixed with plasmas, and they're doing and they're spending big money on this stuff and they're quite happy with the results. But I mean, like I said, it is big money because it's not it's like cutting edge,
Sure.
And so it's nice to see stuff, because I think yours is in the more price range that people could actually do this right now and not have to worry about.
And what we were trying to accomplish with Everyday Green is that we understand that not everyone is going to grow the same thing, nor is everyone going to, from start to finish, you're not going to need a lot of red spectrum on certain cuttings. So, to strengthen the roots, you want a lot of blasted with a lot of blues and some whites. Then you add the heliophyte on top of that to really get those roots nice and strong. As they start to grow, you blast them with all the red. So from start to finish, you can really custom tailor any fixture to get the perfect spectrum of light from start to finish.
Yeah, that's interesting, because I think that's also going to be the future too, is that more tunable lights where we can bring in and out what we want. And what do you think about induction lighting? I've heard some. I've seen some results, and I wasn't too impressed. But I've talked to a friend yesterday, and he was talking about buying a whole bunch of induction lighting, and I actually told him to listen to the show, because before you do that and spend a bunch of money, because I know the induction lighting isn't cheap.
One of our companies that we own is for outdoor sign companies, and we utilize quite a bit of induction lighting.
Okay.
Induction lighting has been around for years, but it has been really offset, as of recently, by LED.
Mm-hmm.
And the problem you run into in the growing stages is you're still only going to be allowed that one spectrum. So if you get an overall lamp that has the blues and the reds in the same lamp, you're still not being able to fine-tune to exactly what you need, as you would with like the TE5s that we're producing. However, induction lighting puts out a lot of light. It's about half the cost of LEDs, and it does put out a lot of light for the money. It's not a bad bang for the buck.
Yeah, but I'm more concerned because what I noticed is I went and checked out a garden once, and they had all induction lighting, and I was very impressed with the setup, how it looked. It was beautiful. But I came back like literally only a few months later, and it was all gone. It was scrapped. And so I was like, huh. What's going to happen what happened to all this induction lighting, and they basically kind of, I think they realized that even though it was cheaper, let's say, than maybe more expensive LEDs, et cetera, but just that the amount of output compared to a light mover with one decent light on it is almost going to be better than having all these kind of antiquated, like you said, it's been around a long time, and I don't feel like it's new technology as much. But I'm just
really isn't.
Yeah.
No, actually, induction lighting was produced roughly around the late end of the 50s. Is when induction lighting came out, but it never took a stronghold in the American market.
Was it a Tesla? Was it a Tesla offshoot or?
I'm not sure if it was a Tesla offshoot. I know Sylvania was one of the first ones on the market with induction lighting years ago. Like I said, back in the late 50s, early 60s.
Uh-huh.
But it just never took off.
Yeah.
And then it started to reemerge right before. It was kind of in between, I call it the cassette tape, if you will.
Mm-hmm.
Between the 8-track and the CDs, we had cassette tapes. And that's where I call it the induction lighting. It was that in-between line that people went to before they realized, oh, well, wait a minute, I can get a better output with an LED, and therefore we'll just go right to LED because it was actually even more energy efficient.
Yeah, no, and the thing is, I'm like everybody, of course, I thought LEDs might be the big game changer, but then I kind of changed my mind after dealing with them more that I just didn't feel like they had the... I mean, I know they're out there, and I know there's some good high output diodes, but I haven't... If
I can explain something, we've actually developed a new LED fixture that a friend of ours, Chris, I think you spoke to him as well.
Yeah.
He has one of my fixtures in his possession.
Mm-hmm.
It's unlike anything you've ever seen. Problem with LED gives a simulated light. So if I have a blue light or a red light, and I put an LED module over top of it, that's all I'm doing is nothing more than just giving you a red light or a blue light. It's not hitting the proper spectrums that plants need to grow. So it cannot do what a fluorescent tube or even hit the same spectrums because metal halide and high-pressure sodium actually uses high-intensity discharge lamps.
Yeah.
So they're very similar in the same type of components and phosphorus used in high-intensity discharge lamps.
Sure.
Therefore, LEDs cannot do that. They can produce a lot of light, but they're not hitting the right proper spectrums for growing. So we have come up with a new fixture that's out on the market now. We've been working with this other company that's out of Michigan for about the last year, and we've come up with a fixture that has it looks like a thimble over top of an LED module with a very integrated reflector system that is, this little thimble is silicone filled with phosphorus. So now the LED light is pushing through a phosphor.
Right.
Giving the proper spectrum.
Interesting.
So,
yeah, it's really interesting. It's almost like the sulfur bulb. Remember the sulfur bulbs they had back in?
Yes, I do.
Yeah, and I had a guy actually who was next door to us in Amsterdam who I guess he was the importer of them, and it was the same. It was almost the same story. It was like game changer. One golf-sized bulb is going to light up this whole warehouse. You know what I mean? And it was like, what? But the reality was it just didn't. This guy put a lot of energy into trying to grow cannabis with it, and it did not work. It was like failure after failure, and I went over and watched it, and it was because the bulb would sit on the other side of the room somewhere, you know what I mean? And it would have these long reflectors with these tubes dropping down, and then they put a plant underneath each one and expect that to be intense enough, and it was just not, you know what I mean? So there's always these big game-changing kind of concepts, and I think, but the one you're saying right now actually sounds like it's kind of a conversion between, it's almost like putting a lens over something and turning it into a laser or something. You know what I mean? Like, oh, look,
exactly.
now it's a laser. First,
we're actually taking the standard LED and turning it into a game-changing growing machine.
Huh. Oh, that's very interesting. And how much wattage and power about does that take? Let's say. It's
a 150-watt LED that produces about the same amount of lumen value as an 800-watt metal halide.
Okay, and what's the PAR reading on that? Do you have any kind of indicators of that yet, or?
No, I haven't. And the reason I haven't really tested the PARs on that too much is because PAR is very subjective.
Mm-hmm.
If you're 1 inch away, 3 inches away, if you're in a cloudy day, a sunny day.
Yeah.
I try to stay away from PAR and PER values, even though I can tell you the initial PAR value on that was it was through the roof. It was somewhere around, for the one point that I hit, it was like 14,000 par.
Wow.
Which was unheard of. I mean, the machine didn't. The other thing I'm not real big on the handheld par machines is because the par machines can only read between certain spectrums. So anything above 660, it's not reading. Anything below 450, it's not really.
It's like having the wrong pH tester, and you're like, damn, doesn't help me at all. This is if the pool is 4%. I don't care about it. I don't want to get that bad.
Because I think it's very important that we discuss par.
Yeah.
But I also know that the machines that are out there right now, unless you're getting the $10,000 machines, are not reading a true spectrum.
I do like those.
Light.
I have to say, I do like those handheld ones, though. They're pretty nice. Like every time I see one, I'm all like,
I've got one in my hand. Well, I've got one in my desk drawer that I use every day.
Right. No, I do think it's an awesome tool. That's like I've suggested that as a Christmas present many times. Like, yeah, that new par meeting would be a good one for me. Well, that's pretty interesting. I like to hear even more new stuff because, it's hard for me to go to a T5 or a T8 personally, just because of the fact that I'm always like looking for less is more, and like I think the biggest problem that I had, like I have a heat issue in a room where one day I just couldn't figure out what the heat issue was, and then when I started looking at my T5s and realizing how much they were really pulling, and it's like these are like 400 watt lamps each, it's kind of a little bit almost. Yeah, that's where I'm kind of like I'm a little bit. I guess it's because I lived in Europe for so long, and there we're very, very, very conscious of power. Like the average house there only had one 20 amp fuse.
Mm-hmm.
That was it. That was my whole house. It was like, wow, I have to run everything on a 20 amp fuse. So you get creative, you know what I mean, and you also get. That's why 600 watts always worked over there, and even 400 watts all day long. And I even got 250s over there just because I just was always like I'm trying to fill every crevice and to do stuff that I can, but always kind of thinking of the power. And then when I moved back to America, I just turned into an American, and I was like, 1,000. I want a 5,000 watt light. What is it? I just was going bigger and bigger, but it didn't. But now I see the reality is that sometimes less is more.
Mm-hmm.
And like I said, I'm actually growing under those ceramic metal halides, and we're going to call our friend in a minute right now and see what Brad's doing. And I'll tell you, I'm super impressed right now with those. So I'm down to try anything. So if you feel like ever, sending us out one, I will definitely test it.
Actually, you know what? Give me a call.
Yeah.
And I will get your address and everything, and we'll get you some test samples, and I'd love to hear your response back on them.
That would be awesome because, and like I said, my friend Brad, I think I kind of gave him the idea of what you're doing because I knew there's T5s and T8s, and that's all he really needed to hear to be impressed because he's a true believer in all of the technology being there because he's seen it, and he's he's the kind of guy who's definitely not gonna knock you for doing anything because that's his job is T5s and T. He likes T8s, so I'll tell you, he's one of these people who he's not a big T5 guy. He's a T8 guy.
And we haven't made the T8s, and the reason we kind of stayed away from the T8s is because most of our test samples and most of our the people we have talked to in the industry kept pushing me towards the T5s because of the higher outputs. Yeah,
but again, I guess it's we'll let Brad, because I know he's got some good T5 facts or T8 facts for you, because that's what he does. So, yeah, give him a call. Give Brad a call.
Okay.
Sorry for the silence. Silence is crazy, right? You got it? Old school sound. See that? It's like we're in doing the old jammer phones. Remember the old jammer? Beep boop boop.
Yeah. All this technology, and we're still using push button phones.
Yeah. Well, it's almost push buttons. Virtual push button phones, actually.
Okay.
High tech.
It's not working? Oh my God. Hold on. Let me double check. Make sure. Jeez, we can't lose our second guest. 440-1742. Boom.
Everyone's gonna call him now.
Oh, they don't know they don't know the area code. They have to try all the area codes in the world.
Of Texas.
He's in Texas. It's the first time we did dueling guests. I haven't done this yet, so he's not going to answer. He's hiding. Come on, Brad, you can do it. So that's the thing about calling live.
You reach Brad with Summit Lighting.
Bam.
I'm unable to answer the phone right now, but if you leave a brief message and a phone number.
We'll get back to Brad in a second. So, Jeff, how many shops are carrying your products at this point?
Roughly, we have around, I want to say about 10 distributors across the United States.
Oh, that's good.
And they're selling to retail, and they're also selling through the shops. But being a manufacturer, I really can't pinpoint exactly what shop is being sold to. So if you go into a shop that doesn't have an everyday green product, I can give you my number to give me a call directly so I can make sure they know about us.
Oh, for sure. And the distribution, have you gone through major distributions like Sunlight Systems or any of these kind of people, or is it all just pretty much sort of independent lighting guys and smaller?
More independent lighting guys right now. Sure.
Because I mean, are you guys doing any trade shows? Have you been doing any like Champs or not Champs, but the hydro shows, anything like that?
Not yet. This is still something that we have. It's still relatively new. We've just been doing this for like the last year, so we're still getting our. We don't want to put the cart before the horse.
Sure.
Yes, but I will be doing more of the trade shows this upcoming year in 2014.
Yeah, it's good. I mean, it's one of those. It's like inevitable things. I mean, I've done a ton of trade shows, and it's a grind, but it's definitely worth it to get your product out there because you get it. Especially at some of the hydro shows now, the people are really interested in what's going on, and I think it's definitely. We're in that kind of critical period too, where everybody's about like if you either have old. That's one thing about lighting in general, as I always said. There's so many old lights just lying around that it's hard sometimes to get people over the hump of going out and buying new hardware because of the fact that they're, they just want to kind of keep rolling with what they got. But having said that, there's a lot of new growers out there every year, and especially the smaller growers, because now that's the thing in Colorado is everybody over 21 is allowed to grow 6 plants. So I mean, if you imagine that to have tens of thousands of smaller customers is sometimes better than having a couple big ones that if they fail, you fail. So
exactly,
it would be nice to see some consumer level models of your products coming out.
Well, definitely.
So, I'm going to give Brad one more attempt and see if he answers. And if not, it's okay. We'll get back to him. Oh, he's actually giving me an okay. I think he's going to be popping up here.
Okay.
So we'll have we can get a little alternate angles on lighting and maybe enlightenment, I should say, right?
Huh.
Oh.
Hey, Brad, how you doing? This is Adam.
Hey, how's it going, Adam?
It's going good. We're on the air on Cannabis Radio, and we're talking with my friend Jeff Sagi over in Cleveland. I don't know if you've been listening to the show, but he's developing some basically T5 and retrofitted stuff, which I think you're very familiar with.
Oh yeah.
And he is, but did you hear the show? Have you listened to what we've been doing?
To be honest, I haven't listened to it today. I'm actually out on deliveries all day.
I know you are. You're a busy guy. Well, basically, Jeff, give him a quick rundown since he's missed the show, and I don't really want to try to explain your product too much for you.
Well, how you doing, Brad?
I'm doing pretty good.
Just letting everyone know that the name of the company is called Everyday Green, and we've come out with a P5 line of lamps that has dissected the sun into 6 different spectrums. There's the 420 spectrum, which is your really ultraviolet spectrum that puts out a lot of UVA, going to the ultra blue, which is the 460, coming back to your daylight spectrum, which is your 6500 Kelvin. Then we've introduced a 633 nanometer, a 660 to 680 nanometer, and then we also have a new lamp that'll be available the first of the year called the Heliolite, which is a natural sunlight lamp that actually uses 5% UVB.
So basically like a 55K bulb.
It's 5600 Kelvin, yes, but it does have the inclusion of it's actually producing 5% UVB off the surface of the lamp.
Now is that coming a little bit back from your I know you guys are doing also like tanning lamps and things like that. So you have a little more UV sort of knowledge, I guess.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And how come we don't have grow lights that get us tan, man? I'm kind of bummed out. I wish I want to get tan while I'm in my room. You know, can we make a tanning lamp so I could just?
This one will do it. We'll have to put a disclaimer on there, to be honest with you.
Really? Oh, well, there you go. That might be a reason just to have your bedroom running with them, just to catch a little bit of sun sometimes. Because I feel stupid especially in Amsterdam, when I was there, I'd be white as a ghost, and yet I was in my grow room all the time. You know, and I was like, this doesn't make any sense. So Brad, so Brad, give us a little. I mean, I've been talking about this ceramic metal halides on the air for the last few weeks, and keeping people up to date, because, like I said, I'm on my 5th week and I'm happy as hell with what I'm seeing. Give us an idea of just how much you think that your lamps are game changer. Just no competition here. I just want to kind of hear from yours, because, like I said, I've explained it in my own ways, but I know you're definitely more knowledgeable when it comes down to the actual spectrums and et cetera. So give us a little rundown on the ceramic metal halides that you're repping.
Yeah, the ceramic metal halide, what we feel is one of the best 315 bulbs on the market, comes from Phillips. They're the ones that have predominantly did most of the research on them. They put out 30% more par radiation than a 1,000-watt metal halide or 1,000-watt HPS bulb does, and that's not Phillips claiming that. That's actually the University of Utah that's claiming those specs. I have been told by the Phillips reps that this bulb is the closest thing to natural sunlight, other than a plasma bulb, at the cost.
And how long have these been in the market?
These have primarily been used in the foreign market for roadways and airports now for 15 years. It's just they noticed that plants were growing better under these lights than the surrounding plants that weren't under these light poles on roadways. That's how they stumbled across it.
Oh, that's very interesting. And so Philips being a Dutch company, I mean, I probably drove under these lights when I was there, and because I did notice they actually because sodium lighting, when you're used to it, after a while it's kind of funny, because I as a grower, I'd always, you know, even when I'm like flying in a plane, I could, oh, look, sodium, you know, everything, you know, I'm always thinking about them as grow lights. But then it's kind of funny to me that they even use them as street lights, because they're so yellow and they really don't have anything to do with the sun when you think about it. They're just like such a strange spectrum that for somehow we've just thought was the closest thing to the sun for so long. Do you know why we've noticed maybe after all these years that actually the sun is really a lot more blue and a lot more, you know, the spectrums are much more full?
Correct. I'm not 100% sure why they started doing it. I personally believe, just my own opinion, the reason why they like to use the other color spectrums as it gets lower in the red Kelvin colors is just human perception of seasons changing.
True that, yeah. I think that could be part of it. I mean, obviously we think of it as like the September sky being obviously really red, and then the June sky being really blue.
Correct. And the plants themselves, all the plants that I've ever read, really don't care about anything other than par radiation. Humans are the only thing that really know anything to do with lume, so lume specs really don't matter to plants.
And I agree with that.
I was just going to ask you, Jeff, what do you think about that? There you go. Well, that's good.
I agree with that. But going back to the high-pressure sodium, the reason that most but municipalities have gone to that was high-pressure sodiums for the years has given a higher lumen per watt over metal halide. Therefore, our eyes will see that lamp being brighter and cutting through the darkness a little bit better than metal halide.
And maybe the life of the bulbs had something to do with that too, I can imagine.
Years ago, before they perfected more of the metal halide doping processes, where right now your metal halides are lasting every bit as long as a ceramic, not a ceramic metal halide, obviously, but they're lasting every bit as long as a high-pressure sodium, which is roughly around 20,000 hours.
And how?
Well, I mean, that's subjective, too, because I've been in the lighting business for a long time, and most metal halides and high-pressure sodiums lose about 30% of their light within the first 3 months of operation.
Which I completely agree with that.
And it goes even further than that. They lose, not only do they lose 30% of their total lume output, but they actually lose 15% of that lume output in the first hour of operation every time it breaks.
Agreed.
So initial looms, that's one of my things. Initial loom specs on anything that has to do with horticulture to me is a joke.
I would actually very much agree with you on that, Brad.
You guys should start a lighting company together, man. You guys are agreeing on everything. It's perfect. No, that I think that it's also one of those things that, in a lot of industry, it's like the dirty little secrets they don't want you to know, of course, because if everybody knew that, probably everybody would be replacing their bulbs every single crop if that was worth it. Because that's what I've noticed is there's definitely about a 15% drop on the first round straight away, you know what I mean? Guaranteed without even a question of a doubt. On top of that, depending on your conditions and stuff, it could even be worse. But I definitely, I've suggested to people who have big growing operations that if they really want to calculate it on paper, if 15% of their overall crop is worth more than the bulbs, you might want to buy new bulbs, you know what I mean?
Correct.
And
that's another thing about these bulbs is Philips claims they only lose 15% of their light over the life of the bulb, which is 3 years.
And how is it? And what's the oldest bulb you have right now? Do you have one burning that's been going over a year, for instance, or how long is the longest one you have?
I do have one that's been burning for 18 months. It's not a 315; it's a 150 bulb, and it has been running over a bonsai tree for the last 18 months.
Have you done any par readings on that lately, or checked it out with any kind of meters?
What's that?
Have you done any kind of par readings on them lately to see if they dropped in the last year and a half, or is it?
I have not, just because I haven't bought the par meter yet.
Yeah.
That is something that we've been discussing on picking up some software to do some actual testing of the light bulbs over long periods of time.
Yeah.
Currently we have one airport that switched out their 1,000-watt metal halides off of their runway and have switched over to these 315s instead in a 41K. And it's from what we understand, everyone that has to deal with these lights claim that it's brighter than the 1,000-watt metal highlights even coming in from the air.
Wow, that's interesting. Yeah, I saw also a photo that you showed me of an airplane hangar that you guys had put the bulb in, and it was definitely impressive seeing that the doors are about 65 feet tall or something like that. And then
you see the guy.
When you first look at it, you actually think it's a normal-sized sort of hangar, but when you see the guy at the bottom that he's a tiny little speck, you realize that it's throwing about a
huge hangar door.
It's throwing about a 65-foot throw of light, which is pretty awesome for a little tiny bulb, And that's one of the things. That's one of the things. Okay, now what about the argument between, so for instance, T5s and T8s and metal halides, including ceramic metal halides? Now, one of them is what I would consider linear light, and one of them is like arc, like a point of light.
Well, they both produce light spectrums in the same spread. They're producing light waves out sideways from the tube. So it's just a matter of which way. Some guys like to have their light hanging down like in a parabolic state. I'm not one of those guys because it tends to build up a lot of heat in the umbrella.
Uh-huh.
So if you're going to do that, you got to drill holes through the umbrella part to allow some heat to exchange.
Sure.
And go above the little dome. But once again, light extrades sideways at a 90-degree angle from the lamps for the most part. I'm not saying 100%, but I'm saying for the most part of the lighting, it's coming off at a 90-degree angle.
And that's why reflectors are important. And that's why reflectors are important, because a lot of it wants to go, after it goes from 90 degrees, it tends to want to go up, right?
Right.
Correct.
And I agree with Brad on that. Most companies and most people that have been using our product thus far have been having really good success on hanging the lights sideways versus straight up as and I agree with Brad. The heat does build up there, and if you at least have some ventilation holes for the heat to escape, that will actually add to the longevity of the lamps.
Yeah,
it also increases more output energy from the light too. Less heat, more energy.
Right.
Yeah, more efficient, I guess.
Any fluorescent lamp likes to work at about 120 to 130 degrees bulb wall temperature. So if you increase that, you lose about 15% of the life of the lamp and 15% of the output of the lamp. And if you make it too cold, it does the same effect on the back end. It'll actually lose light if it's too cold, and it'll actually hurt the lamp itself overall, thus actually taking it from about a 4,500 to a 6,000 hour rating down to about a 3,000 hour rating.
Yeah, and you can overcome that, but of course the ballast costs a lot more money to get a cold weather service ballast.
Right.
Yeah, no, it's I guess it's a lot to do with almost everything mechanical to run it at the right temperatures. And that's one of the things I tell people about doing air-cooled lights is I'm not a big fan of air-cooled in the sense that I don't think we know enough about these bulbs or enough about how the bulb reacts to being cooled too much, because that's one of the things that sometimes people don't really take into account. They got like air conditioners running through their hoods. I don't think the bulb was designed to run at any of those temperatures. I mean, there is a certain parameter, isn't there?
The metal halides and high-pressure sodiums and ceramic metal halides, they're capable of running from about 140 watts down to roughly in the neighborhood of about, negative 20 efficiently. Fluorescence, on the other hand, and this is all fluorescence, unless you have the right balance, you're still going to be fighting, having to use tube guards to keep the tubes warm, to keep them in low, cold extreme weathers. But anything about 72 degrees shouldn't affect any one of these lights at all.
Yeah. No.
Agreed.
Yeah, but do you not think that maybe that bringing cold air across a bulb that's trying to run at a certain temperature to run efficiently is going to make it maybe run just like fighting against the grain there or something?
It is, especially on fluorescence more so than probably metal halides. But even metal halides, it's like any electronic piece of equipment or any electric piece of equipment feels comfortable and works its best when it's warm, not hot, not cold.
Right. And not too, obviously not too hot either, because I've been in those situations too, and that never works. That's definitely not. So heat's pretty much a big issue, and that's kind of one of the things I think that lighting people, if they're not a grower, they might not understand that the canopy has to be at a certain temperature. It can't be too hot, or the plants are basically fighting against themselves just to try to, regulate their temperature in a sense. But that's the one reason that I'm really a big fan right now of these ceramic metal halides is I'm just seeing that the canopy just stays perfect. What temperature range do you? What was it? Give me the exact numbers on that one, Brad. Like at 2 foot. Well, like at 2 feet. How much? It's 80 degrees at 2 feet or something. Was it? I don't want to give numbers of that.
Oh no, it's much harder than that. It is 315 watts worth of heat. It's just it dissipates a lot quicker and. Due to the fact that it is only 315 watts worth of heat versus 1,000 watts of heat, it just dissipates quicker.
Yeah.
So if you got air movement, it's just not just one big, huge 1,000-watt heat sink sitting above your plants.
True that, yeah. I know because I'm also, like I was saying to everybody here, is that I just see like really good resin production and a beautiful green canopy that's absolutely not got one single leaf that looks out of place. It's pretty amazing.
Yeah, some of the other people that I've had for the last year that have been using these, in the beginning they were all telling me, this looks like the equivalent to a 600 to 800 watt bulb. But in the end, when they harvested and dried and everything else, they actually found that bulb produced as much or a little more than the 600,000 watts they were using. It was just denser and a lot more resiny crystals.
Yeah, well, I'm about 3.5, 4 weeks away from finding out myself. I can't wait. That's going to be the Christmas bonus, I guess, is the way I'm looking at it. And
currently right now, Excel is offering rebates. So like dispensary owners, if they want to get in on this, Excel's paying $274 back on our Excel rebate if they're in the Excel marketplace. And if they're in Boulder pays an additional $20 on the rebate.
Wow,
on these light setups.
That's amazing because actually,
come in and
that's amazing because like I was saying, I was actually in Boulder last night at town council meeting, emergency meeting about the recreational cannabis, and I was talking with some dispensary owners there who were just about to get into buying some lights, and I told them to listen to this show because I thought could be some interesting facts. But if there's a rebate possibility on top of the fact that they're about to retrofit this entire place. That would be screaming to me to try that out, especially when you're talking big numbers because $20 rebate on 2 lights ain't a big deal, but on hundreds of lights, that could be a huge saving.
Well, correct. I mean, this puts it out of pocket for most dispensary owners to retrofit from 1,000 watt to a 315 ceramic metal halide, right in the neighborhood of about $186 in the Denver metro area.
That's amazing. So basically contact me because I'm going to be funneling all these ones now. But for sure, if you're interested and you want to get in on this and you're a dispensary owner, definitely get in touch with us here at the Adam Dunn Show, which is actually called CD Wednesday when back in the day. So we have our original email address is cdwednesday@gmail.com. And you can always get in touch with us that way. Or you can call us here at 720-381-1420, Adam Dunn Show, need info, want lights now, basically. I don't know how to code that. But that sounds awesome, Brad. That's one of those things that I even forget about because I'm not in the industry. And, I mean, a rebate, who ever heard of a rebate for a grow light, right? That's the best thing ever. That's the best combination ever, if you ask me. Well, thanks, guys. I want to kind of cut it off here. I don't want you to take, because I know Brad's got to go back to work. Jeff's probably about to finish work, huh? How's it going with your day, Jeff?
I've still got a couple more hours left here.
Okay, yeah. Boss man has to stay around, I guess.
Yeah, no rest for the wicked.
For sure. And the Everyday Green, is there a website that they can reach you guys at?
Right now, it's under construction. We're actually redoing it, but it will be up here in about 2 weeks, and it's going to be goeverydaygreen.com.
Okay, that's awesome. And do you have like a direct link, just sort of if they need to get in touch with you? Is it going to be?
Sure. They can give me a call on my cell number or my corporate number, which is 888-222-5918. And again, that was 888-222-5918.
Cool, that's awesome. And Brad, you still there?
Yeah, I'm still here.
Okay, cool. You want to give us your plug and give us a direct link if you have one, and I'll just tell everybody to say they came through the Adam Dunn Show, and then we'll talk. How's that?
That's fine. They can reach. If they're retail buyers, just guys off the street wanting to buy them for their houses or whatnot, they can go over to the Grow Depot or Indoor Paradise. Those are the two retailers that are currently selling these for us here in this marketplace. I know that you're currently doing it as well through your dispensaries that you're talking with. You could reach me at 720-440-1742, and that's a direct phone line to me.
Perfect. And then the company was called Summit Lighting.
Correct. We're just a wholesaler of lighting.
Yeah, and like I was explaining to everybody on the show earlier, is I mean, you do lighting every day, all day, every day, and that's what you do. And you tear out old stuff and you bring in new stuff. So you're pretty much on the cutting edge of the technology that's out there. So everybody should always take, it's like whenever you meet a good HVAC guy or anybody in the industry, I always want to, make sure that I'm connected to them because they tend to know what's going down because it's more about what you tear out than what you put in. You know what I mean? When you tear stuff out, you know exactly what doesn't work, and that's sometimes the most important part to teach people if you want to learn. Save time and make money.
Sure.
Awesome. Thanks, guys. And hopefully you guys can keep listening to the shows as they develop, and we will probably get lots of requests, and I will pass them your way.
Well, thank you so much. Thanks for having us.
Thanks, Jeff. Thanks,
nice
Brad.
Meeting you.
Nice meeting you, Brad.
Yeah, one day when you're here for a trade show, we'll all get together.
Sounds great.
Awesome, Jeff. Thank you.
Take care.
Yep. Thanks, Brad.
Yep. Bye, Adam.
Okay, take care.
See you, Brad.
Well, there you go. See, now that was pretty good information right there. Dispensary owner, you're about to retrofit your giant, huge grow. You want to spend tons and tons of money on even just that is literally the price of a bulb.
Yep.
That's the price of a Hortilux bulb, pretty much, if you didn't get a great discount. Maybe you get one for $135 or something like that. So it's $50 more than a bulb, and you've saved 60% of power.
Saving.
So if you're talking like hundreds of lights, that's a major deal. And then on top of that, because of the amperage that's being used, you could retrofit everything you have right now, and you could still have room for another 275 bulbs or something, 250 bulbs. If you were doing 250 to begin with, and now you just retrofitted those 250, well, these are a lot less. You could probably scrunch those puppies up a little bit, throw in another hundy or two. So good information. And then also with the T5 stuff, it's also interesting to see because I think a lot of times what's going to happen now, we're going to get these small growers who don't have a ton of money. And I mean, I've seen some pretty awesome gardens grown with T5s. And before there was T5s, when they were just these regular old fluorescents, they stacked them in. And there was definitely heat issues. And there was definitely, it wasn't the most cost-effective way, in my opinion. But when you don't have the money and it's, $8 a light and you can buy 10 of them for $80, it's a lot cheaper than $400, So I can understand why people do it. But then, I've seen some stacked, beautiful plants grown under fluorescence. So before there was all these other lightings, that's what people used. So in the end, I think we have to always continue to roll with it, but at the same time, never forget about what always works, The plasma thing, I mean, that was really interesting when it first came out, and I was a big believer. And I think it works great in conjunction with, but on its own, it just doesn't seem to have the cost-effective thing going for it. So,
$2,000 a light's not too cost-effective.
No, especially because the problem with those was that they still didn't produce more than a gram per watt. So really, if you got to think of things as you got to kind of think like that. Gram per watt is a much better way of putting things together because otherwise you're kind of comparing apples and oranges. You know what I mean? So yeah, in this situation, if you're saving a ton of power and you're only using 90 watts, but you're only getting 90 grams, well, yeah, you didn't really save anything in the long run. You just you saved power and money, but you didn't get the money back. And we're all in it for the long haul. That's the idea.
Yeah.
So Jason Love got back to me at one point, so I think he is semi-available. Here. Let's see. Let me text him really quickly and see if he's available. But what else we got? Okay, so what time is it now? We only got 10 minutes left.
10 minutes left. Yep.
Wow. Okay, well, hopefully we get Jason on the phone for the last 10-minute sesh. Anybody out there want to give us a call in? You got 10 minutes to bring it to us. If you have any information or if you need any information on the show today or any of the stuff we've been talking about.
Zong says, hi, Adam.
Yo, Zol?
Zong.
Oh. What up? What up, Zong? Yeah, we are going to wind it down today, but next week I've got a couple. Okay, let's see. Let me think about who I got. I think I'm having Sheldon finally. I think I'm finally going to get my coffin bag, which I can finally explain to you. There's a lot of finallys. You finally got it, finally explain it, and start hyping it up because it's the coolest bag out there. And then you have all your dab essentials at your fingertips. I'll be bringing in some demos, obviously, and showing off what we got. I also want to hype up these two parties again. The Mayhem at the Fox with Mr. Vandal, Hypnotic, and Short Fused. I'm going to have the organizer of the party on next week, and he's going to give us a full hype sesh because it's going to be basically the day after our next show, so that's perfect. Fox Theater, December 19th, and that is going to be a 16 and over show. So, like I said, get ready for some 16-year-old twerk in your face. I don't know. That could have increased their capacity a lot. Just when people realize that there's 16-year-olds twerking. So, and of course, we got third Saturdays at the Hood Lab. I don't know, you can't really see that, but third Saturdays at the Hood Lab. We've got RAW, aka 6 Block, and we also have Citrus, Phonetic, Onkit, and Thrower. MC's XTS and Zizo. I didn't even see that before. Dark flyer. It's very dark. It's a very UK looking flyer. Very dark. Very good, right? I would say UK. You don't know. Except there's not enough fonts. If there was a real UK drum and bass flyer, there'd be like 32 different fonts on there. That's what they're famous for. I don't know why they do it, but too many fonts.
Typography and drum and bass.
That's Saturday night at the Hood Lab. And it's going to be every third Saturday, and we're going to start bringing in UK acts and bringing in real people that are going to blow your mind because that's what we do. That's what we did forever in Amsterdam. I mean, we were the drum and bass crew there for the longest time. We did Retox. It was it was always on a Sunday. I don't even remember what days. First Sundays? I think it was first Sundays. But it was always awesome, and we had every top UK DJ come through because we were in Amsterdam, and now they all want to come to Denver because this is the new Amsterdam. So we will keep you up to date with all the new lineups on those awesome third Saturdays at the Hood Lab. Let's see, Jason, one more time, if he's going to answer. I don't think he did. No answer yet. I could try him. You want to try him one more time? It's the 8-4. Here. Jason Love, man on the scene, hemp guy out there, hemping it up. I think
He's the hempest.
he's the hempiest.
Hempiest of the hempiest.
You know, I may have to hand over my crown as the most influential man in hemp this year. I'm pretty sure it'll end up being Jason. I don't know though. But no guarantee that he will answer us because he's a busy guy. Last time I called him, he's in a conference, and it's kind of funny because you could tell. Jason, where are you?
The Google subscriber.
Boom, he's not there. What we're thinking about doing with Jason, though, since he's all over the place, this guy is, one day he's in Washington, next day he's going to be in Uruguay probably, or he'll be here, he'll be there. So I'm thinking we'll get him a Where's Waldo cap, and we'll get a photo. I'll have him just send photos from all these random places with his Where's Waldo striped cap, because he kind of has that perfect look. He's got the glasses. We'll make sure Escher's got one too. Where's Escher? Where's Waldo? Boom. It's going to be awesome. In general, though, we're going to have him on the air plenty of times because I think I want to have him weekly kind of keeping us up to date. So when he's in town, we'll get him right here. And if not, give him a call. I think actually Warren was talking about coming on the air at some point. So I think I need to talk to him also. We need to get updates from him, legal updates. It's always good to have a lawyer in the room anyway, I think, just because you feel like you're making money. Like, bam. That could have been $200 if I asked that question to the wrong guy, but as long as I can get it out of him, for free. So that's the benefit of having lawyers on the air. They have to talk. I mean, they can't just sit there and charge you money. I hope. I don't know if. So we'll get Warren on the air in the future. Get more of the political and the legal side going over here. Obviously, things we have to deal with, but we can't always just talk about fun stuff and lighting. Now, not that law is not fun. I know Warren loves it. Somebody does. So we're going to definitely keep everybody abreast of what's going on. I said abreast. You heard that? All right. Come on, Flargo. Give me something. Okay, before you do that, shout out to my little boy there, Nick. You watching, right? You got to be watching. I hope he's probably not paying attention. Shout out to my wife, Cece, and my mom, holding it down on the Blue Mountain. That's what we do. And we're going to wrap up this show. Flargo's going to come up with some incredible thing and probably finish us off in,
complete shock.
Complete shock. He's going to grow hair again. It's going to come back. Here it goes. He's like a chia pet, just like instant.
Chia.
That would be pretty awesome if you could pull that off. I doubt it. Thanks to James for keeping us entertained with his incredible
conversations.
Oh my God! Wait a second. DJ Mateo's calling me up. This is like world famous DJ calling me up right now. I don't know. Should I
put him on air?
How do I get him on the air?
Speakerphone.
Oh, I could do it. Hold on. Let's see. Yo.
Hey, buddy.
What's going on? I'm actually on the radio right now, so
you're being taped.
So are you?
Okay, well then we'll make this quick, man. Why don't you call me back?
That's all good. It's just about to finish the show right now, and actually, it's perfect. Maybe next week I'll have you on the air, and you can be one of my special guests.
That'd be a nice show. I just did a great radio show like 2 weeks ago on EVR with Kenny Parker from Bookie Down Productions.
Nice.
The show is mental, bro. It's archived too. You should check it out, man. EVR.com.
Cool.
Well, all kinds of like retarded BDP demo tapes that no one's ever heard. I mean, she just went in, bro. It's really next level.
Awesome. Well, there we go. Now we know we got a little taste of what we're going to be hearing next week. So I will get back to you right after the show, which is about 10 more minutes. So sounds good. Thanks for calling.
Hey.
Talk to you in a sec. There you go. DJ is calling us from... Actually, see, the thing about DJ Mateo is probably nobody knows who he is right off the bat. But this guy's got the most incredible gigs you've ever heard of. I mean, he opened up for U2 on the whole tour. I mean, he was their opening DJ. I was like, how do you get a gig like that? You know what I mean? And then Bono hurt his back, so they had to go out to this ship off the coast, which was the largest yacht in the world, owned by the Microsoft guy. And apparently it was like supermodels walking all around, and he was like, yeah, I'm kind of stuck on the boat for a couple weeks till Bono's back gets taken care of. And so he just had to stay on this boat, and they had like a submarine on board and jet skis. And I mean, I was just like, dude, come on now. So we're going to have him on air. He's the official Vanity Fair DJ too. So every time there's a Vanity Fair party in New York, a big one, he's their official DJ. He is the official DJ of the New York City Fire Department and Police Department, I think, on top of everything. So he's got, like, if they do a big gig, they call him. So when you got the fire department calling you for gigs, you're the man right there, especially in New York. So we'll have him on the air. There you go, surprise. That's always fun. And yeah, lost all train of thought there. It was awesome. Perfect.
Kids are eating edibles.
What? Nah, kids.
Yeah, that's on the news.
This is going to be the easiest sort of scapegoat thing to go on, where kids are eating edibles, even though they're like labeled 15 times over, and they have packaging.
Special packaging that's hard to open.
There's, and I mean, you're going to end up with problems of kids eating edibles because irresponsible parents are leaving them out. It's just got to. It's like just like we're calling it medicine, so treat it like medicine. You put medicine in a cabinet, you should actually lock it. Nobody does. Kids take them all out, get whacked out. Mom doesn't know where it all came from. Gee, it probably came from your closet or in your bathroom. So same thing's going to happen with cannabis if people are irresponsible and leave it out. Just so, come on now. It doesn't take a genius to figure that one out. But I can understand the fear. That was the other thing last night in Boulders. There's always, like I told you, there's always, they're bringing up the Joe Camel as far as advertising and saying, that this is still killing children to this day. You know what I mean? And it was like, well, wait a minute, we're talking about tobacco. It's like a totally different thing. But, there may be similarities in the sense that people are smoking tobacco and they're smoking cannabis. But at the same time, as people are drinking milk and people are drinking sodas and people are drinking water and people are drinking alcohol. So they're all drinkable. It just depends on how you do it and if you do it responsibly. Now, the milk part, I don't think is very responsible. That's the most dangerous part of it. I'm a thrill seeker, but milk's probably more dangerous than all the above. Well, soda's pretty bad too. Soda, milk, stick to beer and water, man. That's probably, and coffee. Boom.
Beer, water, coffee.
Beer, water, coffee. So next week we'll have DJ Mateo. We're going to have the coffin bags. Who else are we going to have? I don't even know. Let's wait for a phone call. Maybe someone else will call and with boom. That's who we're going to have. Well, we don't know. Hood Lab this Saturday, reminder. And if you're a friend of Claude the Candyman, I think he's having a little birthday gathering down there tonight. So we'll see. If you're down there, come on down to the Hood Lab, 3354 Larimer. Hood Lab San Francisco, 1669 Haight. Go down there if you live in San Francisco. Support us. Get yourself some nice warm clothes. It's a pretty win-win, I think, right there. You help us, we help you. And keeping the world warm, that's all we do around here. Da-da-da-da. Thank you, and I think we are done. Adam Dunn Show, number 6.